Welcome, everyone, to Music Junkies, a podcast about people sharing extraordinary stories about how music has impacted their lives.
Well, welcome everyone to Music Junkies. We have a special guest today. I'm super excited about this podcast. We have Alaura Lovelight. You're beautiful, by the way, just absolutely gorgeous. But she is an R&B singer, songwriter, producer, a published writer, and you're based out in New York, which is awesome. You have your debut single that's currently playing on the radio right now, nationally and internationally, which is probably really exciting for you. So I'm excited to have you on the show, and welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
It's awesome. So I'm curious, just because obviously you are an artist, what was your experience putting your playlist together for me today?
I'm like such a fan of so much different type of music, right? Like I love all sorts of R&B, all sorts of jazz. So I'm always excited to kind of share that, and people want to know like about my influences and things like that. So I always love to kind of, music is always influenced by something else, right? So it's always fun to kind of, share that with other people. Yeah.
So when did you know that you wanted to be a musician?
Oh my gosh, forever. Yeah. I feel so thankful that like, I think that it gets overlooked when you have such a desire to do something and such a love and passion for something. I think it's easy to get caught up in how do I make that happen? But it's such a blessing to know what you want to do. Like I've never wavered. I've never wondered, like, should I play this sport? Should I do this? Never. It's always been music. And like, that's so cool to me, is that the how of like, how do I make it work and how do I promote it and all that stuff, you learn along the way. But it's been a blessing just forever, my whole life, since I can remember being 2, 3, 4 years old. Like I have photos with my little Mr. microphone, like always, forever. I would like sit my family down and be like, okay, we're going to have a show. And I would like make them listen to me sing with my boombox.
I love it.
Definitely that kid. So yeah, it's a blessing.
And it is so powerful to know exactly what you want to go and do that in your life, and then go chase that dream.
Yeah.
So many people, have that I should have did this. I should have did that.
Yes.
And I love that you're like, no, I'm just going to go and chase that. So who encouraged you the most growing up to go and create this dream of yours?
Well, I think it's a combination. My mom is a brilliant musician. She is a choir teacher and she plays church organ, and she is just phenomenal and very, very talented piano player and choir teacher. And then my dad is a businessman. And so he was the one who really encouraged me. Yeah, like go try it, put yourself out there. And so the combination of the two was kind of a perfect storm for like the music business, Yeah,
that's great.
Yeah.
Very supportive parents. I love it.
Yeah.
We're gonna get started on your first song. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay.
Oh, this is one of my very favorite songs ever.
Whitney Houston, right? She's like a core singer. Like when you hear her voice, it's like it touches like your soul almost.
Totally. I just posted a video of this song, me singing this song on my Instagram like 2 or 3 weeks ago.
That's awesome. So why do you love Whitney Houston, and why do you love that song?
That song is really, really special to me because I had this distinct memory as a kid where I was probably like 8 or 9, and she was in this movie called The Preacher's Wife. And she there's this moment in the movie, and she's in a jazz club, and Lionel Richie is there, and Denzel Washington is there. And they go to this jazz club she used to sing at like a long time ago. And Lionel Richie's like the piano player, and he's like, come on, you should sing, you know. She's like, oh no. And, you know, she gets up, and it's like this magical moment in the movie where she's like singing on stage, and she just has the room like captivated. And I remember watching that scene and being like, I want to do that. Yeah. I still watch that movie to this day, and it brings tears to my eyes to watch it, because it like affected me in such a powerful way of like the way she moved the energy of the room. It was indescribable.
Yeah. Have you been in a situation, like, do you remember your very first performance?
Oh my gosh. My very first performance. I mean, my very, very first performance is like as a kid in a church play. Yeah. Which is really funny because my mom has footage of that, and she brought it out probably a year ago or so at like a Christmas, and she played it and I'm like directing everybody. Like I'm like on the stage, I'm like 8, and I'm like pushing, you know, this is your spot, and like putting everybody. I was like, oh man, I've always kind of had that creative vision. But my first show that I remember, well, the first kind of memory I have of that happening for me was when I played a show, and I had 2 friends, 2 women friends who had just gotten married, and they, like, you know, they were kind of shy and I ended up playing I Will Always Love You, which, or not I Will Always Love You. It was, what's that Bob Dylan song that Adele covers? Gosh, what's it called? Make You Feel My Love. And I played that song, and it was just like a really cool moment. And they were at the show, and I said, can I do something? And the audience was like, yeah. And there was a nice big dance floor. And I was like, I have these friends who just got married, and I'd love to bring them to the dance floor. And they're all cheering. And they came and they danced while I sang. And it was like so beautiful. I was like, don't cry, you're singing. But yeah, it was like, that's why I do what I do. I love it so much that's like a distinct memory that they have, that other people have, that was really powerful. And I love being a part of that. Yeah.
Yeah. It's really cool when you can go and create a moment for someone, but it's also creating that moment for you as well. I think as an artist, it's kind of like a bonus. You're going out there doing something that you love, but then you can go and affect somebody, and then they can have this experience that they'll never experience ever before. And you went and created that. And you did it out of nothing but just love, opposed to like getting something from it. And I love those moments.
Same. There's nothing like it. You can't match, you know, you can't like make that energy happen. It's just kind of organic. And I love that.
Yeah. Have you ever had a show that you were like, okay, this did not go well at all?
Yes. Oh my God. Once I played a show, and the guitarist that I had hired for the show got really drunk before the show. And I'm like very particular about, like, we can chill, we can be cool, but this is a show and people paid money to be here, and like, you know, very professional. So he comes in late, and I'm like, but I don't have, you know, it's the show day, so what am I going to do? And guitar is kind of like an important part. So I was like, man, long story short, I had a microphone at my piano on stage, and then I had a microphone center stage, because I did a back and forth where I moved to the center stage, sang a few, and then I moved back, whatever. By the end of the show, he was like singing over me into the middle mic. And I was like, my manager at the time wasn't there. So I was like, oh my God, like, what do I, like, usually you have somebody who like comes and pulls that person off stage, but it just happened that my management wasn't there. And it was awful. I was so mad. I was like, you know what? I was like, this is going to happen. So I need to like learn right now. How do I deal with that? And I think I gracefully handled it. But after in the green room, I was like, I was not a happy camper.
Yeah, you're done. You're fired. Thanks.
Yeah, pretty much.
Ask for a reference.
Yeah, pretty much. It makes you a better artist, because everything on stage is unpredictable forever. Everything can always happen. A fan can go crazy. Like a mic cannot work. There's so many like variables. So you just kind of have to laugh at those things and be like, well, okay, this is how I deal with this, you know?
Yeah, it's unpredictable. Everything is, even though you can pre-plan everything, do sound check, do all of that stuff. You never
I did all that. But it's okay. It happens.
Right. He's never going to play for you again.
Okay. Oh, never.
Next song. I feel like a lot of your songs are very emotional in a sense, right?
Probably. Yeah.
I love it.
Very emotionally connected, but yeah, I love that song too.
Is there a memory that it brings up, or you just love the way the song flows?
Yeah, that's His Eye is on the Sparrow from Sister. Well, that's an old hymn, but Lauryn Hill sang it in Sister Act, and that was like another really defining moment for me. The Whitney Houston one for sure. And then when I saw Sister Act, it was a similar feeling, a similar situation where she wasn't on stage. She was singing in a church with a friend of hers, and her mother was very discouraging of her pursuing her music. Which, like, my mother was very supportive about music, but I think the whole pursuing like a career as an artist made her like really, she would tell you she thought I was super talented and still does, but the whole unknown of being an artist always made her really pretty nervous. So like in that scene, I think was the same, Lauryn Hill was going through the same thing with her mom. It's like, not that she didn't love her and not that she didn't support her, but it's like, that's a scary thing for your child to like, just be like, I'm going to go do this. And this big, bad, scary entertainment industry.
That's right. Well, she's nervous, female in the industry. And, you hear all this stigma and you see it, and, she didn't want that probably for you. She's
Definitely.
like, oh my God. So my pure child, is she going to come back knocked up and addicted to heroin?
Yeah, right. Right. I think that's every mother's worry, right? It's like, how do I protect her? And I don't know anything about the music industry.
That's right.
But so Lauryn Hill is going through the same thing with her mom in that scene, and she's sitting in the church and she's singing this song. She's like supposed to get out of the choir at school because her mom tells her she can't do it and it's a waste of time. And she's just singing this song by herself. And, Lauryn Hill has like a powerhouse voice. And the song is called His Eye is on the Sparrow. And the lyric is, why should I feel discouraged? If his eye is, God, his eye is on the sparrow, I know he watches me. And like, oh, that gives me goosebumps. It's like such a beautiful sentiment that, we worry about this and we worry about that, but it's like everything, whatever anybody's belief is, there is some kind of cosmic energy that we're all connected to. Call it God, call it energy, call it universe. To me, that's kind of all the same thing in people's terms. And so it's like, it's a comforting feeling to know we're all connected to that, and things will be okay, So
I like the way you put that. Do you remember your first concert? Who'd you see for your first concert?
I saw New Kids on the Block.
You seen their new song?
No.
Oh my God, you got to see it.
Oh,
you have to watch the video. Just go on YouTube, Google New Kids on the Block song. I think it's called Remember the Time. It is so crazy. Salt and Pepper's in there. Rick Astley's in there. It is so good.
Oh, I want to go.
If you are a New Kids on the Block fan, go watch it, because they make fun of all the 80s videos. Like, it's so good. It's so good.
Funny. I'll have to see that. Yeah, I went to a concert. It was called Bash at the Base, and my dad took me, and it was at like the submarine base for the naval yard. My dad was in the Navy. So we went to this concert, and it was like New Kids on the Block, and I think Backstreet Boys were there. No and it way. Was like, oh, I think I was like 8 or 9. And I was in heaven. It was the best. I was like,
is that your favorite concert you ever been to?
My favorite concert I've ever been to. Maybe. It's the most distinct memory I have because it was the first one.
Yeah.
And, you know, like you always have that concert high of like, oh my gosh, like, you know, there's so much energy in a concert. Every time I've ever been to a show, I leave and I like always want to go work after.
Yeah.
Even like from a young age, I'm like, I gotta go write music. I gotta go, you know. So yeah, concerts are awesome. I love live concerts.
What inspires you to write? Is it an event that happens in your life? Is it past memories?
It really depends on what's happening in life. Honestly, I feel like part of my artistry is feeling extra connected to everything and everyone. I always have told people like I feel things on a higher level, not as like a dig at anybody, but I always feel like when I'm sad, it's like really I'm extra sensitive, you know, I'm extra sensitive in every sense of the word. So if I'm sad, it's like really bad. And then if I'm happy, I'm like really, or if somebody else is emotional, I'm very empathic. So it's very like I feel that. And that's where a lot of my writing comes from is feeling somebody else's situation or a global situation. You know, sometimes music just has to flow. So sometimes a song comes out of it and sometimes I'm like having an emotion, but I'm forcing it. And so I just kind of write when it feels like a natural impulse, you know?
Yeah. Do you journal at all?
Yes, all the time. Yes. I'm very into like spirituality and meditation. And recently I've like been making myself, I used to listen to audiobooks while like doing all sorts of things. And recently I've been like, okay, I'm going to sit down for 30 minutes in the morning while I drink my coffee so I can like take notes on the book, because I always feel like I do a better job digesting the information if I'm writing. And then of course it leads to like a journal entry, or I'll pause the book and like have a thought, or, you know, so I really enjoyed that.
When's the last time you went back to like really old journals?
Oh, you know what? I was walking yesterday and I was thinking, I wonder where that journal is, because things will manifest. And then I'm like, I know I wrote that down somewhere like 4 years ago. Whenever I like move or, you know, I stumble upon an old one, it's like an hour. I'm like sitting there like, oh my gosh, you know, reading away. So yeah, I like to write down as much as I can.
Yeah. I used to love it. And now it's funny when I go back and read like 10, 15 years journals, and it's like I was like saying my day. I wasn't really journaling. I was like, this happened to me today. And it's crazy how much growth you see in yourself. Because back then it was like, I don't want to say it was negative, but everything that kind of had to do with that day was like something like not big, but negative in a sense, right? So it's like, I was just like, oh yeah, and this happened to me today. And it's like the growth that I've did when I journal now, it's like, I'm more focused on what is positive. What am I grateful for today? You know, what would make today great compared to 15-year-old journals where it was like, I was just like, it was like, I was just releasing anything that was going out. Cause I'm very similar to you where emotion, you know, I could be in whatever kind of mood, but I could control the room in that mood, which is kind of a cool thing, but also a scary thing. If I'm hyper and energetic, it's like, woo, but if I'm not, people are like, wow, you know, and it could walk into this room and just be like, control this room. So it's a cool
powerful thing.
That's
it's
right.
It's
very powerful.
Yes. Cool.
All right. Some Amy Winehouse.
Sorry, Johnny, I was having too much fun.
I love her. You know, I never really listened to Amy that much until I started this podcast, and a lot of people had Amy on their podcast or on their playlist. So I was kind of, hey, this is really, I really like her.
Nice.
Yeah.
She's the best. I love her. Like, I think that she had such a cool spirit, and like very I just loved how she like didn't give a damn. She was like a great singer, but she wasn't like, I'm the best singer. She was just like, it was so natural for her. And so like, she'd just get up there and sing, and she'd have a drink in her hand, and she just have no shoes on and, you know, bring down the house. And it was like, again, with energy is like, she just naturally, that was her soul, that was her spirit. And I don't know if you've seen the documentary on her.
No,
it's
I haven't
very
yet.
interesting. I watched it and I was like, you know, short of the whole rehab drinking thing, I was like, her and I are very similar types of, have a similar relationship with music in the sense that like all the people in the documentary talked about her, and her relationship with music was like a person. It was like her best friend, and it was like her confidant. And she just had this love for music that was like a real person, like a real emotional, you know, a lot of people, there's a lot of people in the music industry for a lot of different reasons.
Yeah.
And, you know, some of those are fulfilled and some people are chasing something. And I feel like she is such a beautiful example of a real artist. She really loved music. She really loved music. And I, you know, I admire her way of like not caring if she sold 1 million records or no records. I think it's easy to get caught up, you know, the industry can make you feel like your value is based on your numbers.
Yeah. Downloads.
And that's like, that's so not true. But it's very hard to keep that at the forefront, you know, like really, I do this because I'm good at music. It's my gift and I love it. And I think she very powerfully held her ground on that. So I love her.
I think so many people probably feel exactly the same way as you, even doing a podcast, right? I'm sure there's lots of people out there that do a podcast. I know I'm so new, you know, August is when I started, and I love doing what I do. I absolutely love it. But there was a point, probably like a month, where I was starting to, hey, like, how do I get my name out there more? How do I get more? I was starting to focus on that download side. And my husband's like, hon, like, you're doing amazing. You're meeting amazing people. You absolutely love what you do. You get so excited when you're doing a podcast. Remember that. And I was just like, yeah, it's so easy to get caught up in that, because then you think you're not valued enough if you don't have 10,000 downloads an episode or whatever the situation is. You can get really caught up in that. And then you spiral. You're like, I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy enough. He likes my stuff. And you just have to sit back. And it's crazy when you start, I don't know if you've experienced this, but doing this podcast, it's crazy that you go through that and then you'll just be out about, because I do finance as well. That's my main career. And then I'll have like just a random person be like, oh, hey, I listened to Music Junkies. It's really cool. And I'm like, nice. And just like validates you, even though it's one person, it's like, the universe brought me that today because I needed to hear that. It's not about what everything else. So I know as an artist, you probably feel the same way. If you could be a singer for one day, what singer would you want to be?
Oh, another singer? If I could be another singer for one day? Oh gosh, this is going to sound so cliche, but it is true. I really would love to be Beyonce for one day, just because I don't even know if I would want to be her. That seems very intimidating, but I would love to be like her, like right-hand person for the day and just like observe. Cause I'm always so interested in how the people that I like in the position that I want to be in, are doing. Like, I want to know, how does she talk to her team? How does she, you know, like, does she have moments where she's like not together, or does she like excuse herself? And then like, I'm like always curious. I'm always really paying attention to like those interviews. How is she standing? How is she talking? What's her body language? Like, does she touch them on the shoulder? Does she not? Does she, you know, like, I'm always really observant of stuff like that, because I think those little tiny things are what make her here and other artists down here. I know that, you know, artists like Beyonce are at the level that they're at by no coincidence. She's very meticulous about everything she's doing and very particular. So I would like love to observe her life for the day. And, you know, is she meditating? Is she spending most of her time by herself? Is she, you know, it's like she's such a public figure, but it's like we really don't know how people like that are minute to minute, are hour to hour. You know, does she stop and go get a coffee like I do? I don't know.
No, it's very true. And I think she's probably got a really good PR team. Yeah. And that part is good on the sense is that it keeps all kind of things that you were just saying. Does she go for a coffee? Does she do this? All kind of out of the limelight a little bit. But then on the flip side of that, people have to relate to you, right? They have to relate to you. They have to know that you are having a bad day, right? Because if they think that you never have a bad day, again, they just feel like, what's wrong with me? I'm having a bad day today.
Yes. Yep.
So I wish more artists would go and share that side of themselves where it's not all the good time reel, right? That's why people go crazy on social media, I think.
Yeah.
Because it's always a good time reel. It's never sad or it's extreme to the next. It's super happy or this happened to me today. And it's, you know, because now I'm looking for something. I'm looking for people to like it or, you know.
Yeah.
I agree. It's gonna be okay, right?
I've seen a lot of like artists who experience like a serious depression because they get to a point like they don't share because you're supposed to look or feel or act whatever, and then all of a sudden they're like, I need help, like I'm severely depressed. And that's such a hard line because like again, the industry has this like fake standard for you that you should present yourself this way and you should look like this. And, you know, being an artist is sort of a kind of, you know, not coveted, but like, you know what I mean? Like it's kind of a, oh, how cool, their life must be so fun. So there's part of that that's like, you want to, you know, like you want to present that like we're doing cool, fun things. And then there's the other side of like, you know, somebody asked me the other day in an interview, they were like something about comments on the internet. And I was like, people are still people, you know, the Kardashians have millions and billions of dollars, but it's like saying mean things about them still hurts their feelings, you know? And it's like, I think that there's so much going on that, you know, as an artist, you have to find that space between carrying yourself in a public figure type of way. And even like for me, back to, you know, when that guy on the stage, like takes the microphone, I'm like, these are always teachable moments where I'm still a person in the spotlight. People are watching how I'm going to react. And it's my job to do my best. And, you know, it makes me more accountable to be in that space, you know, to say, I might curse them out if it was just like a regular situation in a bar, but, you know, here I am on this stage getting paid to be here. It's my job to kind of pave the way and set an example. So
I agree.
Yeah.
How do most people react when you tell them that you're an artist?
I don't tell most people. I have
out and about like socialite, and your girlfriend says, "Oh, hey, here's Alaura. She is an R&B artist." And most people be like, "Do you find that they treat you maybe a little bit different?"
Yeah. My coffee order gets wrong a lot. I was telling my assistant Savannah, we always kind of chat about interviews after, and I always call her and I'm like, they're really nervous, and we always kind of chuckle about it. But like, it's weird to me because it's just like, I don't know, I'm just me. But I think that there is an intimidation factor of somebody who knows their value, knows their power. I think we all kind of struggle to find that. And it's a path, it's a journey. And some people are further along on the path, or, you know, people will say, oh my God, you're so confident. And it's like, well, I do a lot of work. I do a lot of self-work. You know, for every interview you see me, every show you see me like being a diva, there's, you know, 50 days of meditation and self-work behind that. It's not like I just popped out of, you know, nowhere, like, oh, I just happen to be like this. You know, I work hard on it. I do a lot of work to get in touch with my true power, which we all have, right? So it's like when people get nervous or they, you know, like, oh my God, you're a singer or whatever. I think I love that moment too, where I get to be like, no, I'm just like you. You know, I work on myself. I work on tapping in. I'll tell you, you know, the tips that I use to keep myself centered and grounded and all of that. But I love people, you know, I love different people. I love people's story. I'm always intrigued by that. So, you know, and I think it's sweet. I've like moved from a place of like being like, what the heck, to being like, you know, thank you. That's I appreciate that. That's flattering. So, yeah,
I agree. I think it's awesome. I think, you know, you just owning your own power and just accepting whatever kind of comes that way is a powerful thing to be anyways. Yes. Regardless if you were an artist or not.
Right. Absolutely. I mean, we all know somebody like that who it's like they, you know, are doing whatever regular job, but it's like they walk into a room and they light, you know, they lighten the room and all that. And it's like, that's the same thing as what we're doing. So yeah.
I agree. I love this next song. It's one of my favorite songs.
Such a good one.
I've gotta love Billy Joel. Do you love him because of the piano or?
Yes.
Yeah.
Again, he's such a natural performer. I love artists who are just like meant to do that. You know, I feel connected to them because I feel like that. But Billy Joel's like a dream collaboration for me. I love, you know, his piano playing is on another level. And I hope like by the time I'm 60 or whatever, I can play like that. He's phenomenal. He's so talented, writing wise, just like such a great performer, such a great musician, such a great writer. So many check boxes, right? And I think that he's just like very entertaining. I would love to work with him. I would love to perform, play the piano with him, get a lesson, you know. I think
that'd be really cool.
Yeah, I love him.
So what was your high school graduation song?
Vitamin C. How does that song go? I think it's called Celebration, but I can't remember. Oh, it's gonna come to me too when we hang up. Do you remember that song by Vitamin C? It was
I can't remember how it goes though. As soon as you said Vitamin C, I was like, oh my God, I haven't heard that in a long time.
No, I can't remember. I'm gonna have to look it up when we're done. But that I remember it being that because it was like the song of the year or whatever. Yep.
What's been your most memorable moment of your career so far?
Oh, that's such a good question. That one doesn't have an answer because there's so many like different moments that meant different things to me, right? So there's like shows like the one I told you about that are like unforgettable that I feel like, and a lot of those shows are not the biggest shows I've played. You know, so, some of the biggest shows you play are like a lot less personal. And I'm such a personable person that I feel like, you know, the ones that stand out to me are the times I played the bar and 12 people were there and like were on the edge of their seat. Because I always used to feel like when I was playing in clubs and stuff, I was like, cool, you know, if somebody's a fan of yours, they have an expectation of you. They come, they paid to see you, you know, like they feel entitled that you should do the best job and this and that, and they want this kind of show and whatever. But it's really kind of special to be like, oh, nobody knows who I am. Let me see if I can win over this crowd. And that's like a real testament to you as an artist, because you know, there was a time where I was like transitioning out of playing clubs, and, you know, people were starting to know kind of who I was. And I would love to play a show where like, I'm like, nobody knows, you know, really kind of knows what's going on here. I get like a fresh, you know, I get to really, like they say, Jerry Seinfeld does that, where he would like go to like quiet little hole in the wall comedy clubs to test his act. And, you know, of course, at that point, people really knew who he was, but it was like, I love the organicness of that. So like stuff like that super stands out for me. But then there's moments where like, I played this show where there was like 40,000 people there. It was one of the biggest shows I played. And after the show, they were like, Alaura, come over here, like come to the fence. Somebody, you know, wants to say hi to you. And I'm okay. So I like stopped what I was doing and I went to the fence, and there's like a mom with her daughter, and the daughter was like, just her eyes were, you know, enormous. And she was like, and her mom was like, this is Emily and she wants to be a singer and she just got a guitar. And I was like she, you know, that was a memorable moment for her.
Yeah.
And so memorable for me to be like, wow, you know, people are watching me, especially little girls, are really paying attention to confidence and to empowerment and how you carry yourself as a woman. And they admire that. And I love to be that for them. Yeah. So that, you know, stuff like they all kind of stand out different.
Yeah, I love it.
Little moments like that. Yeah.
So obviously being a female artist, and you just kind of mentioned something that just kind of brought this up. And I was wondering if you've experienced this. There is this persona of, obviously we can look at Britney Spears, right? She came in, little girl, you know, doing all these songs. And then you watch her kind of evolve and grow. And, you know, she looks like a porn star by the end of it. Do you know what I mean? Like, do you feel that, you know, that just comes from outside sources? Like, have you been exposed to stuff like that where they're like, hey, why don't you wear a tube top today and maybe slip a nip? You know what I mean? Or whatever you got to do in your video. Do you feel like that is like an actual thing that is out there?
Yes, absolutely. It's definitely a pressure, but I think that which is something that I like, is really, because, you know, I coach young girls. And so it's something that I really try to teach them, is that I am very clear about my brand and about who I want to be as an artist. And I have held fast to that. And I have really never wavered on it, especially like I tell the girls, you will get to a point, which every artist does, every female artist does, where you have to decide between your integrity and an opportunity.
Yeah.
And you have to be prepared when that happens. Because if you haven't prepared yourself to say, this is what I stand for, this is what I believe in, this is my brand, then you get to a place like that and then you waver. Where for me, I really came into it at a point where I was like, I'm not doing that. I'm not sleeping with people for opportunities. I'm not being in an outfit that I don't feel is appropriate for myself and my own brand. If you get there and then that happens, then you're like, I don't know what to do. Yeah. And for me, it's like, it wasn't an easy decision, but I knew, okay, that opportunity is not for me. And you have to walk away, and that's hard. But I always kept at the forefront of my mind that you can't unbrand yourself. You can't be naked in a video and then decide, oh, just kidding. Like, I'm Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
You can gradually, you know, like Lady Gaga is a beautiful example. She branded, they really branded her in this way of crazy meat dresses and all this craziness. And I think finally she got to a place where she was in the industry. She had an opportunity to be like, actually, I'm not doing that anymore. And she shows up on Ellen with like no makeup on. And people are like, who is that? And they're like, oh, it's actually Lady Gaga. And then she starts playing the piano like crazy. And you're like, whoa, she's super duper talented. But it took her 10 years to rebrand herself and be respected for it. People like really gave her a hard time, you know, about being this classy Tony Bennett, singing with Tony Bennett. Like, that's not your brand, you know.
Yeah. Where's the crazy outfit?
We don't like that. Don't do that. And she was like, this is me. I don't care what they say the brand was. And so it's like, same with Madonna, right? She like has reinvented herself many times, but it's like, she came out, you know, she's doing like, what's the Virgin song? Is
like
it
a Virgin? Yeah.
Yeah, like a Virgin. So she's like, you know, and so it's like rebranding yourself is very, very, very hard.
Yeah.
It's hard to break in. Then it's harder to rebrand yourself. So it's like, have a clear vision of who you are and what you stand for. And again, like, I'm big on energy and I'm big on the universe. You just have to trust that, like, if that is not meant for you and is not in keeping with what you want to represent, then something else will come.
Yeah. It's almost like a test too.
Yeah.
Like, hey, you could potentially go be Beyonce over here on this side if you do X, Y, and Z. And then you're like, it kind of goes against my values. I don't really want to do that. And say you do go and do that, and maybe you're famous for a year, one hit wonder, and then again, now you're rebranding yourself as a one hit wonder, and good luck with that, right?
Right.
Like,
well, and
all of that stuff.
Right. There's all these struggles, right? But it's like there's two things that happen there. Is that for myself, it was always like, what if I compromise myself and I still don't get the opportunity?
Yeah.
What if they make, you know, men tend to lie. What if I do whatever they tell me I need to do in order to get to where I'm going? I believe them. And then I compromise whatever it is that I didn't want to do. And then they're just like, hey, sorry, just kidding. Or it doesn't work out. Now I have a reputation in the industry that I don't want. And the opportunity still didn't happen. I'll be pissed. Like, what the heck? But that's a hard pill to swallow, because there's been moments where I'm like, I have to walk away from this right now because I'm not going to do what they have an expectation of.
That's right.
And that's hard. But, you know, then I get to be in an interview with you and say, yeah, you got to do that. And I'm still successful. And I didn't do those things. So
yeah, I think it's important. I think if you just kind of stick to your guns and continue doing what you're doing, and that means for everybody, the opportunity will still present itself. It just might be presented in a different way.
Yes, it will.
Right?
Yes,
and then you can just feel good about yourself. Because I do feel you know, and I don't think it's just women in the industry. I do think it's a lot of guys too. You see a lot of men rebranding themselves. I'm sure New Kids on the Block did not want to come out like that in a sense, you know. Right. They're like, but they had a good manager and said, hey, we can go and do this. And now you look at them, it's totally night and day. Like right? So it's very interesting. All right, next song.
Time on my hands since you've been away.
All right.
Yes, that's a good one.
Going down. I love it.
Best. You're right. A lot of them are emotional. They're all my favorites.
I love it though.
Yeah, that's such a good one. That was I saw that on a TV show, Sister, with like the twins, Tia and Tamara. One of the girls sang that on that TV show. And again, it was another like R&B song that I was just like, oh my God. And I think she sang it for a talent show or something. And I always fell in love with that like moment and that idea. And I love Mary J. Blige. I think she's a queen. Rose Royce is the one who originally did that song, but Mary J. Blige like really gave it that like heart-wrenching kind of feel to it. So that song has always been, I've done that song at a lot of shows as a cover, and people always seem to really connect with that song. Yeah. So
you have lots of fans. Do you have any stalkers?
I've had one or two. I've had a few where I'm like, it's hard because like you can't control people coming to the stage or sitting up front or being at every show or wanting your full attention. And, you know, like it's like as an artist, it's interesting. It's an interesting thing because people feel like they are way more connected to you than you are to them.
Yep.
Like I feel connected to everybody listening to the music in an overall sense, right? I'm very spiritual. I'm very much like we're all connected. I love everybody who's supporting the music, who's not, who knows who I am, who doesn't, like it doesn't matter. So that's really beautiful to me. But then it's like people who they like think that like you're secretly their girlfriend. You're like, no, I don't know you.
Do you have any fun little stories you might want to share?
I've had a few like older guys come to shows and like sit in the front row and talk like when I'm talking in the microphone, they like are responding. And I'm like, oh no, we're not in a conversation.
There's 40,000 people behind.
Yeah, there's like
oh no, it's not me and you. It's
right.
It's
Right. You can't tell them that. And their wife is there, and I'm like over.
Oh, I'm not texting you right now. No,
right. This is like totally. Yes.
Do you have any pet peeves?
Oh my gosh, so many.
Okay, let's hear a couple.
My pet peeves are I really hate so many things, but I really can't stand when people say they like do something in the industry specifically and have nothing to do with that. That's like a really big pet peeve of mine. Like work your ass off, do a good job, own your position and say that's what it is. But like, don't, you know, like when people say, oh my gosh, I've had 1 million streams this year and you have 3 likes on your picture. It's like, why are you doing that?
I know.
That's like a big pet peeve of mine. Just like, you know, work for it, do it.
Yeah, forge your resume, right? And honestly, I've experienced that where people have said I'm X, Y, and Z, and then I'm super excited to have them on the show for no other reason. Just I'm excited, and then I'll really go and look, and I'm like, you were an extra,
right?
You were the lead role in that show. I went and watched the show. Like, I didn't even know that was even you in the show.
Right.
And then I just promoted you for that show. And then I actually go watch that show. I'm like, oh, I have to keep rewinding because I was not even you.
They're like in the body bag. You're like, hey.
Hey, I've been an extra in a few shows. Right?
That's awesome.
Nobody really knows.
That's okay.
I just keep those little clips just for I'm like, oh, that's me. I'm an FBI agent, but I'm walking.
Awesome.
You just hear my click clacks on my shoes. You can't see me.
Oh man.
Oh yeah, that's a big pet peeve. What else?
Yeah, same. A pet peeve. Oh gosh. You know, it's funny because I think about these when they happen, and I'm like, ooh, somebody's gonna ask me that, and I'm gonna tell them. I really hate when people drive slow. I hate when people drive slow. Like, come on, I'm in New York. So it's like,
yeah, that's a lot.
I think, the thing about people saying, another thing is like when people, I really hate lazy people. I really do. Not like hate them, but like being a lazy person, I'm like, don't you like
want to do something?
Yeah. Like, don't you want to go somewhere or have an impact or, like, I don't know. I guess, people like my brother, he's in film and he's like, Laura, like everyone's not like you. But anyway,
I don't like lazy people either. It drives me absolutely insane because I don't understand it. I'm like, I
don't understand it. That's the thing.
That's the thing. I don't understand.
Yeah.
So what's the weirdest or funniest question you've ever been asked in an interview?
Somebody asked me, where's the strangest place I've gone to the bathroom? I was like, not really your business.
Thailand?
Like, yeah, right. Like, my mom's house? I don't know. But they're like, haven't you ever had to pull over on the side of the road during a tour? And I'm like, well, yeah, like everybody, has to pee by the side of the road or whatever. But it's like,
the haystack in Jacksonville.
What a weird question.
You're
why, why do you, why is that a question? I don't know. Whatever. That was weird.
So we're going to end on a few of your songs. And one, I can't play it because I didn't get it. So I did want to ask you your song, You Matter. Where did that song come from? And what does it mean to you?
You Matter came out of somebody had asked me to like work on a project for them, which that project never came to manifest itself. But it's so funny how like things like that work, that it's for, you think it's for this, but it's for this. And I ended up writing it just because I was like, I want to write a song that can make as many different types of people feel good about themselves, feel like they're important. A lot of like, one of my favorite feedback things that people tell me is when they connect to a song I wrote and they say, oh my gosh, that got me through this, or made me feel better when this happened, or whatever it is. And I felt like that song, You Matter, was the best thing I could kind of do, like a blanket song that I could say, it doesn't matter anything about you, anything about external anything, that you matter because you're here, and there's a purpose for you because you're here. And that song kind of created a movement. It's now like, a part of my company, and we do a lot of nonprofit stuff through that. We work in schools and we do empowerment workshops. And it's powerful. It's a powerful idea. And I have seen it, when we made the music video, we went and we worked with all sorts of different types of people, and they all really had the same reaction of like, thanks for thinking of me to be in this. Thanks for including me, like elders of a church and guys in a reintegration program and people who feel kind of forgotten. And it was like, thanks for, highlighting my story. And I was like, it seriously matters. Like, I can't tell everybody's story. I can by giving other people a platform to share. Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about your music company and why you started it.
Lovelight Sound Music is my company, and I started it because I saw so much more than just my artistry. I think that with everything in the music industry, all the stress and the pressures, and you should do this, and you should be like this, and you should only share this, and like, I'll be honest, I'm a coach, and I coach like teen girls, and I run a program for teen girls called Unseen to Queen. And it's a course that I created. And for a long time, I didn't talk about it because I was like, I don't want to be perceived as a teacher. I'm an artist. But then I got to a point where I was like, I'm making an impact. I'm not a public school teacher. Like, not that there's anything wrong. I love public school teachers. My mother is a public school teacher. But like, I felt like, why can't I be making an impact and making a difference for these young girls? Well, how does that, why should that take away from me as an artist? Like, you're not serious enough, or you must not be doing well as an artist if you're doing other things. There's like this weird stigma in the industry. I think it's changing. Because a lot of artists are going independent. A lot of artists are creating courses and giving back. And, Christina Aguilera has a course, and Alicia Keys has a course. And a lot of these artists are saying, I have a lot to give, and I'm not going to limit myself to, I just sing, I just play, I just write. And that's why I started it, because I was like, you know what? I want to coach. I want to work with other people. I want to work with creative people. People ask me all the time, about my creativity and how did I get to where I'm at? And I felt like that was a teaching tool that I could share. So Lovelight Sound Music has all sorts of courses, all sorts of coaching opportunities, all sorts of workshops that we do. And then like also on my website, I share a lot of the materials, like the books that I read. And, sometimes I'll put like the vitamin supplements that people always want to know, like, how are you being so successful, and it's really mind, body, spirit.
Yeah.
That it's all encompassing. So like I anybody who wants to know, let me share with you like all the things that I do, because they all contribute to myself as an artist, myself as a person.
Yeah, I think it's so important that you are sharing that stuff, because a lot of people that do want to go change their lives, maybe they're looking at maybe not the best people to go and use that situation that they did, right? There's a lot of pop-up YouTube people and all of that kind of stuff, which is great. They can go do their stuff. But I feel like a lot of people don't share a lot of that back end work that really needs to go into it, which is your mind, body, and soul, right? So you going and sharing, hey, there's this type of meditation that I do. If you want to go do that, go ahead and do that. But so many people don't go and share that. Yeah. They just say, hey, here I am. I popped out of a window and I'm
and I'm great and I'm perfect. And I, super like with myself just because the stars aligned. And it's like, that's not real.
And I'm seeing more and more of that. And I appreciate more and more of that. Yeah. Right. Tony Robbins has a really good book that just came out called Life Force. Again, amazing book, but he's going through everything that he really does on the health side of things and on the spiritual side of things. So I love when people give that information, because obviously you're down this self-development journey, and I have been on it for years. And one thing I have always been very dissatisfied with in that industry is I'll go spend money on your book, but you're not fucking telling me anything.
Seriously.
I'll read the whole entire book, but there's no freaking tools for me to go and do. You're just going to
another pet peeve. Yeah. Another pet peeve. I need like a 1, 2, 3. Do this.
Hey, I need you to meditate for like 20 minutes. This is the website. This is the link.
Yes.
Do some vitamin E. Like, just tell me what to do, because I want to change.
And which is a big part of why I do that, because I'm totally with you on that. It is a huge pet peeve of mine when it's like, there's this like elusive information, and it's like, I need practical steps. Like, yeah.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I'm 100% like that. And I found like that, just my personal development journey has always, like, that's one thing that I've always been like upset about. That's why I love like people like Anthony Robbins and stuff like that. He's very like, hey, do X, Y, and Z.
Oh, I love that.
So your last song, and we're going to end it on your song. You want to say something though?
I was just going to say, have you read any Joe Dispenza?
Yeah, I love him. Again, he's a tool-driven person, right? Do this meditation. Come to my seminar. I love him. And I love him because of that.
Yep.
Not like, hey, I just came up with this random meditation that I found online and now I'm, you know what I mean? It's actual theory stuff behind it.
Well, and like people like that, which like I try to be as well with my company, is like, he puts out so much free content.
Yeah.
That makes me want to go, like, I've read all his books. I've listened to the audiobooks on like YouTube, and I go buy them still because I want to pay him for the book, because it's made such a difference. But it's like, people are so worried about selling this many books or doing this. And it's like, he's giving so much value that it makes people want to invest in him.
Right. Yeah. And if you truly are in that industry as a personal development coach or whatever, and you truly want to go and help people, then the money will come.
Yes.
Right. It's not like I'm going to go help these people, but first they got to go buy my book and download this and go do that. And that's like a pet peeve of mine too. Yeah. So I love people that are like, hey, go check it out. It's free. Like, we are in that environment anyways.
Right.
So get over it. People want free stuff. But if you truly want to go change the world and help people, some people can't afford a $30 book to go and do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So that's why they created all those platforms, and sorry, they're getting free stuff. But again,
make yourself so valuable that people want to come pay for your stuff. There's so much free stuff out there. It's like, people are going to take your music. They're going to steal your music. They're going to steal your book. They're going to whatever. They're going to listen to it free online. I do that. But it's like, make yourself so valuable. You know, there's nothing like seeing Alaura Lovelight live in concert. So like, my goal is to make myself so valuable that people want to come meet me. They want to come see me. They want to come talk to me. They want to work with me in a course. Like, there's only one me. Let me give all the value that I can. And then if you want to work with me, come on. If you want to come to a show and get that experience, like, I'd love to see you there, you know, stuff like that.
I agree 100%. Last song, you ready? I love this song. How does it feel hearing your own music? Is it weird?
It's cool because I'm such a perfectionist that I'm like, if I can still listen to it like over and over and be like, yeah, that means it's like in a good place for me, because I'm like so particular. So I love it. It's such a blessing, you know. It's so like really a dream come true, you know, for especially like internationally and on the radio and on podcasts. And, you know, like, you know, me and Savannah will Google search like Alaura Lovelight just to kind of see, is there stuff we've missed? And it's just fun. Like, it's so fun to connect with so many different people. I'm from a small town. And so I think that getting out of that and doing music outside of that and growing beyond that has made me be like, my music's playing in Scotland, my music's playing in, you know, the UK and Canada and Uganda and all these places that, you know, in this small town mindset, you can be like, oh, you know, the girl at the bar didn't like my song. And it's like, nobody cares. There's a billion people in the world.
That's right.
Yeah. So it's cool.
Where did your song Eroticy come from? Like, what made you decide to write that song? What's it about? I love it. It's really sexy. I love the beat to it too.
Thank you. Yeah, it came from, I was in a writing session one night with Ray Rothschild, who is formerly Sugar Ray of Double X Posse. So they were big in the 90s in the hip hop, and we were writing, and he was kind of asking me, what are you going to do next? And what are you writing? And I had a whole bunch of stuff that like was unreleased, and he was like, play some stuff. And so I'm like going through my catalog and, oh yeah, that's cool. And oh yeah, that's cool. And then he's like, do you have anything like more clubby, more, you know? I was like, well, I played him this song that I had made, and it was different. It's called Move Your Body at that time. And it was kind of a track that I made to see if I could make a song like that. It was not anything I seriously intended on doing something. It was one of those I played where I was like, oh yeah, I forgot about this song. He was like, that's the single. And I was like, wow, really? He's like, yeah, that's the single. And we ended up writing Eroticy that night, done cover to cover. And it was so fun. It was like a really good writing session where he would say something and it would make me say, oh, how about this? And, you know, that's such a good chemistry for writing when you can bounce ideas off of each other like that. And it was like probably a month. Actually, I just saw on my phone that it was like a year ago yesterday that we were in the studio on Eroticy, which is so cool. Like to see, like, you know, from conception that we wrote it, and then probably a week later we went to the studio in New York and we put it down, and, you know, we worked with Grammy nominated producers and like a whole amazing kind of team of people, and who really like elevated my music to the highest standard. And so it's really the best thing I've done so far, and I'm excited about how well it's doing and how much people love it. It was really important to me to make a song that was sexy but classy and confident, and it wasn't like overly explicit. And, you know, people will ask me like, is there a clean version? And I'm like, nope, like there's literally nothing in it that, you know, you could play it right on the radio. And I loved that idea, like, let's be sexy but creative. Like, how sexy is that to like make you think and use your imagination? And like, that's more of a kind of creative way of doing it.
You don't have to talk about girls' lady bits in a song.
Like make it more kind of elusive, like I said before. So I love it. I'm so pleased with everything about it. It came out amazing.
Oh, I love it. I wanted you to just have an opportunity to share with the Music Junkies audience where to find you, what's coming up, anything and everything that you can share with us.
Yeah, I plan on doing so much music this year. I'm excited about 2022. I think that I'm actually just finished a project that I was working on last month, but now I'm kind of in next single mode. And so that will be coming sometime this spring. And then I plan on doing like a whole record at probably fall. And I always kind of tell people, like in the interview, they're like, what do you want to tell the fans? And I always kind of tell people, like, now is the exciting time to like jump, things are bubbling and things are really, after years and years of working on music, they're like really starting to take off. And it's always fun to like go along that journey with an artist. People love to say, oh, I knew who they were 2 years ago or 3, you know. So I'm like, get on board now. It's an exciting time. So people can go find me. They can go find me at lovelightsoundmusic.com is where you can find the courses. There's courses for musicians. There's courses for teen girls. And there's courses for creative people, just people who are creative. And so you can find more information about that there. And then on social media, Alaura Lovelight everywhere, kind of on Instagram. I'm mostly on Instagram, Facebook. I'm getting my feet wet with TikTok. I'm still figuring that one out, but I'm on there. So I love to connect with people.
I love it. So I want you to leave me some words of wisdom.
Words of wisdom. With my brand, with my artistry, with everything, it's like my biggest goal is for people to learn how to be more authentic, be more true to themselves, be more true to what they love and what they want. There's so much of this world and this life that we live for other people. And it's like somewhere along the line, especially as adults, we get to this place where it's like, this is not what I wanted. This is not, so-and-so told me to do this. And so-and-so told me this is a safe career. And so-and-so told me, and I'm always like, throw that all out the window. Like, life is short. And especially like I'm reminded, praying for Ukraine and everything that's going on with all of that, that constantly watching the news and reminding myself, like, you never know from day to day. And it's like, I really every day want to wake up and be like, yeah, I did what I wanted to do. And I worked really hard and I had a lot of fun and I met a lot of cool people and learned a lot about myself. And so it's always my intention to inspire other people to, I've seen like quite a few friends that all bosses like hate me because I'm always like, quit your job and go do what you love. But like, I've had a lot of musician friends where, over the past probably 5 years have seen what I'm doing with my music and they've kind of gone to pursue their music, or seeing other creative people more openly pursue their creative passions. And like, that's what I love. I love to see people unapologetically do what they want to do. And if I can kind of influence that and help nudge somebody in that direction, that they're like, yeah, I don't care, I'm gonna go do whatever. I love that. I think that's great. And I think that's what life is about. So yeah, do what you love. That's my words of wisdom. And don't care what people think, because they're not paying your bills. And
that's right. That's what I say. They're not paying your bills.
They're probably not happy with what they're doing. So all the people who like really care about what they're doing are not the people who are judging you. The people who are judging you are always the people who are unhappy with what they're doing. So it's like, why even base anything on what they have to say?
I agree.
Like, they're confused. So whatever.
So thanks so much for being on Music Junkies, Alaura. I've had so much fun with you, just getting to know you as a human, right? I appreciate you. I'm excited for what's going to come for you. And I'm excited for us to build a relationship.
Yes.
Right?
I'm
excited about that. So thanks so much for being on the show.
Yeah, of course.